Hey, it's Jonathan McGinley, a Maxwell certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and the founder of Intentional Man, a company that exists to give Christian men the tools, community, and coaching to pursue God sized goals, live intentionally, and build lives of significance. I want to start off today with just a simple exercise. All right, so let me ask you a question here. In the last year, how much money do you think you've spent on material possessions? Things like cars, clothes, electronics, golf clubs, hunting gear, fishing gear, whatever it is, material possessions, versus how much money do you think you've spent on things that help you grow internally, like books, conferences, seminars, coaching, training? What do you think you spent more money on, those material possessions or on things that would help you grow internally? So think about that for a second. Now think about your time instead of your money. Think about your time. How much time do you spend thinking about or working on things that are just going to be impressive to other people versus things that are going to help you grow as an individual? Is your time more focused on impressing other people, or is it on doing the things that matter to you individually? How much of your energy is spent doing things to impress others? That's a good question. How much of your energy is spent doing things to impress others? And the last one, I want you to audit now your actions. So we've done money, we've done time. Now go ahead and do an audit on your actions. When no one's looking, audit the actions you take when no one's looking compared to when somebody's watching you. Are your actions the same when no one's looking versus when somebody's watching? Do you work just as hard when it's only for you? Do you do things with as much excellence when it's only for yourself, or when it's versus doing something to impress other people with your actions? All right, so these are some good things to think about, right? I asked myself the same questions, and that last one really got me. In all honesty, a lot of times I'm way more incentivized to work hard or to do things better or with excellence when there's some sort of social reward versus when it's just for myself or just for God. And oftentimes I would rather develop skills that would be impressive to other people instead of focusing my time, energy, and attention on just development as a person. If somebody's going to see it, then I'm more incentivized to do it. If no one's going to see it, then sometimes it's harder to do it. Can you relate to that? Maybe through those questions you realize maybe there are some things going on where you do things with the motivation to impress other people or for some external reward, rather some internal reward. And our natural tendency is to stick to the outward commitments more than the inward commitments. That's just our natural tendency. Our natural tendency is to put more weight on how we're being perceived by others versus how we're perceiving ourselves internally. So today I want to talk to you about growing in character. Growing in character. It's easy to focus on growing in the key skills in your life, but oftentimes we neglect to intentionally grow in our character. There's a quote from former General Norman Schwarzkopf, and he says 99% of leadership failures are failures of character. 99% of leadership failures are failures of character. So think about some of the people. We could probably all think of somebody recently who's had some sort of public failure. And pretty much all the ones that I can think of are failures of character versus failures of competence. Usually it's not something mistake they made in their job that made it become such a big public failure. Usually it was some moral failure. Think of some of the pastors that have fallen recently. They're usually matters of character, right? They're usually moral failures. And these well-known pastors or public figures, they're some of the most skilled and competent people on the planet at their job, right? They were incredible speakers. They're good communicators. They're good at writing sermons or writing books. They had some great leadership skills, right? They're very skilled. And it wasn't the fact that they weren't good at their jobs that ultimately caused them to fail. It was a failure of character. In general, people focus too much on competence and not enough on character. And I 100% believe that you should grow in skills. You should become more competent, but you must place an even higher emphasis on continuing to grow in your character at the same time. And just like most things in life, this doesn't just happen automatically. You're going to have to be highly intentional about growing your character. As a man, I know there's a lot being thrown at you all the time. You have the pressure of doing well in your career. You have the pressure of providing for and protecting your family. You want to be a good dad and a good husband. You want to become really good at your job and continue to grow in the strengths that you have. But ultimately, in the long run, your success in these areas, the areas I just mentioned, is going to come down to your character. You can know everything you need to know about your job, but if you cut corners, if you lie, if you cheat to get to the top, eventually things will come crashing down. You could know all of the tactics and the methods to be a good husband or to be a good dad, but if you don't have a genuine love for your family, and if you're not a man of integrity, then ultimately those relationships are going to fall apart. There's a study that's done by the guys who wrote the Leadership Challenge. It's a great book by Barry Posner and James Kouzes. And they asked over 75,000 people across 6 different continents what quality that they admired the most in leaders. And the most common answer to that question, you can probably guess it, is honesty. Honesty, integrity. Those were the things that came up the most. Honesty is at the core of character. Honesty is the core of having integrity. The best leaders in the world are committed to honesty. And the answer to this survey, asking 75,000 people, it wasn't some skill like communication, or it wasn't some skill to develop great strategies. The answer was honesty. People like to follow people who are honest and who live with integrity. If you have a lot of skill, but you don't have honesty, eventually people are not going to want to follow you. But if you have honesty and continue to develop your skills, people will follow you. So here's a key question for you today. How much time and effort are you putting in to grow in your character? To grow in your character. Are you being intentional in your character development, or are you just hoping that you'll just luckily get better with time? Luck is not a good strategy, right? Intentionally growing in character is the best strategy. If your answers to the questions at the start of this training were that you were more focused on outward appearance than your inward appearance, you might not be focusing enough on your character development. If you seem to be way more motivated for public recognition than you are when it's only for you, then you might need to focus more on developing your character than your reputation. I've heard it said that reputation is what others think of you. It comes from what others believe about us. But character represents who we truly are on the inside. Are you more focused on building your reputation, your outward appearance for others, or are you more focused and on your character and becoming who you truly want to be inside? In John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, it's a great book. He has what he calls the law of the ladder, which states your character growth determines the height of your personal growth. And he says people often focus on professional capacity without developing character, and it almost always costs them in the end. It costs them personal relationships, and it costs them their career. So if you're only focused on outward appearance, you might get some good results and some affirmations initially, but at some point, that shaky foundation that you're building on is going to collapse. Proverbs 10:9 says that people with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will be exposed. People who follow crooked paths will be exposed. At some point, a lack of character will be exposed. And I promise you, the pain will be much greater then when you're exposed than the pain is now of developing your character, of putting in the work to develop your character. Think about the end of your life. Think about the legacy that you want to live. Are skills and accomplishments going to be the things that you want to be remembered for? Or is it going to be your character and how you treated others? And if it's the latter, then you got to get intentional. You got to be intentional about building your character. So you're probably thinking, what can I actually do to develop my character? So I want to give you 4 quick things that you can start doing right now to invest in your character development. Okay, so number 1, obvious answer. I know it's the Sunday school answer, the church answer, but the most important thing, you must spend time with the Lord. You must spend time with God. God is the one who has perfect character. And we become like the people that we spend time with. You must take time to spend with the Lord in order to develop your character. This may seem like the common sense answer, but let me ask you, is it the common practice of your life? There's a big difference between knowing something and doing something. So truly look at your life. Are you investing enough time and energy in your relationship with God? Are you being formed by him? Are you being formed by his word? Are you connecting to the vine regularly to have him grow your character to ultimately become more like Jesus? You need to start investing intentional time in your relationship with the Lord if you want to be intentional about growing your character. So that's number one. Number two, start investing time in serving others, actually serving other people, intentional time. Go somewhere in your community, serve at your church or a homeless shelter or your neighborhood, but do something on a regular basis that takes you out of your comfort zone and it takes the focus off of you and it puts it on other people. One of the best ways to grow your character is to serve others without expecting anything in return. And I'm sure you know the golden rule, which says, do unto others as you would have them do to you. Jesus literally said that phrase right there sums up the law and the prophets. So again, probably common knowledge. You know the golden rule, but is it common practice to you? Are you continuously doing to others what you would have them do to you? Consistently and intentionally spending time serving other people without expecting anything in return is a great way to start building your character. So that was number two. Number three, the next one, just truly stick to the commitments that you make to yourself. If you're in the habit of cutting corners when you're by yourself, you're probably going to do that in other situations. There's a great quote by a former U.S. Senator, Dan Coates, and he says, character cannot be summoned at the moment of crisis if it has been squandered by years of compromise and rationalization. The only testing ground for the heroic is the mundane. The only preparation for that one profound decision which can change a life or even a nation is those hundreds of half-conscious, self-defined, seemingly insignificant decisions in private. And here's a key phrase here. Habits are the battleground of character. Habits are the daily battleground of character. Isn't that good? What you choose to do on a daily basis is building your character. How you do anything is typically how you do everything. So you need to treat each situation as an opportunity to grow in character. Treat each situation as an opportunity to grow in integrity and humility. If you blow off your commitments to yourself day in and day out, you're telling yourself that you're not a committed person. That's what you're casting your vote on. You're showing yourself that you're not a committed person if you continuously blow off the commitments you make to yourself. The person that you're leading every day is you. You are the leader of your life. And remember from that study, honesty is the most important aspect of leadership. So you have to be honest with yourself and you must do the things you said you were going to do if you want to lead your life well. Here's a simple thing that you can do. I would encourage you to set up 3 commitments at the beginning of each day. Just 3. Set 3 things that you're 100% committed to doing and do those things at all costs. And as you make progress and as you stick to those commitments, you're going to give yourself votes of confidence that you're a committed person and you're a person who does what they say they will do. Oftentimes we try to take on 30 commitments and we only do 10 and then we feel really bad that we didn't do the other 20. So I'm saying focus on 3. You can start small. Continue the habits you're doing, but just be focused on 3 things and just say, I'm going to do these 3 things. I'm going to stick to these at all costs because I'm a committed person. So that'll help you kind of build that confidence and grow your character as you prove to yourself that you're a man who sticks to his word. Okay, then the last step would be to invest time and money into books, podcasts, trainings, coaching, and other resources that are going to actually help you grow in your character. Don't only read books about growing in skills, but also read books about developing honesty or developing integrity. Read books that help you grow spiritually. Read books that help you grow as a leader or as a husband, as a man. Don't only listen to podcasts about making money. Those are good. They have their place. But also listen to podcasts that challenge you to grow in your character. Get a coach or get an accountability group of friends that will help you stick to your commitments and help you live in alignment with the man that you want to be. I guarantee if you just took 15 minutes right now to think through some ways to grow in your character, to find some resources, to look up some books, to reach out to some friends, if you just took 15 minutes to do that, you could come up with a great list of resources that you could use right away. Remember, character growth doesn't just happen by accident. You have to be intentional about it. So I hope today was encouraging, and I hope you feel better equipped to grow in your character now. If you have any other suggestions to the community about ways to grow and character that have worked for you, then please leave a comment. Would love that. Also, please share this with anyone that you might find it valuable. Thanks for joining me today. Go live a life you're proud of by living intentionally.